Now, so we have the foundations for HDMI. We have HDBaseT enabling us to extend signals over long distances with reliability, and not only HDMI, but also control, also POH, power over HDBaseT, meaning they actually intend at HDBaseT that one day those displays will be so economic power-wise that you'll be able to just plug in the HDBaseT into that display and on the RJ45 connector and even power that LCD display, for example, or use it as we do to power our receiver from our transmit side, or even variably receiver can power transmit on some products. And now we could really design great systems that deliver all of the required functionality for your client. So now we could confidently fit all the pieces of these puzzles together without having to call Key Digital and say, hey, can I use an extender into a switcher and then another extender out of the switcher? Or is that going to be, is that going to be too much jitter? You don't have to ask us these questions. You could confidently assemble and put together the pieces of the puzzle and build really powerful systems with all of our product categories. And we have this great service for you, our system design group. It is a free service that we will, for our partners, that we will put together system designs that are real easy to follow. It's not CAD drawings and it's not connectivity guides, so to speak, but they paint the overall picture of your system. And all we need from you are answers to the 5 basic questions. And we have it on a questionnaire on our website, and you could provide us the information over the phone as well, or on email, but you could even go to our website and pull down this questionnaire. If this isn't something that you do day in and day out, print this out, bring it on a clipboard, and when you do your site walkthroughs, collect this information and you'll have everything you need without having to do another walkthrough or call the customer again and ask them questions that you may have missed on that first visit. The 5 questions are your sources. What are they? How many? What are they called? Especially in the case of the design, you want to give that personalized touch for each design, and we're happy to do that for you. Displays, how many total is the real need, but what are they called as well? Maybe it's video wall, 3x2 video wall. So video wall 3x2. We have left display or west display, left 1, 2, 3, rear of the room, center, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Or you could even call them by zone name. Conference room 1, conference room 2, entryway, cafeteria, executive boardroom, so on and so forth, okay? Distances, or at least give us the maximum distance from the equipment rack to the displays, or if you have any remote located sources like wall plate plugins, so that we could spec the greatest distance needed for you to make sure it's all going to be within the distance capabilities of the products. Resolution, are you looking for 4K or 1080p? This is especially pertinent question when it comes to AV over IP, because we do have 2 different flavors. In our traditional HDMI and HDBaseT, we're pretty much looking at 4K support across the board now. And control. How are you going to control this system? The Key Digital app, compass control, and if it is compass control, which we think will be everybody's answer here soon, because tomorrow that's what we'll get into. If it is compass control, then we're going to ask what other components might need control. You have a lighting system that you want to control. What are you doing for your audio DSP, for example? Or even by third party, no problem. Even though we've had our compass control system for going on 8 years now, we're a 21-year-old company, and third-party integration has always been the name of the game for us. So we just want to know what that is so we could depict it in our system. So let's start off by analyzing, collecting the needs, right? Because your customer's not going to tell you, oh, I need an Apple TV and I need a wall plate, or I need 2 laptops. They're not going to tell you that necessarily. They're going to tell you how are they using the room. So this is an example of a classroom where you talk to your client and they say, look, we're going to have 40 classrooms in this school. Cha-ching. And we need the teacher, each classroom needs to be able to plug in on a wall plate. Okay, great. What type of laptops are they going to plug in? Well, we have some faculty on old VGA laptops still, and others are on HDMI. Okay, we'll use a multi-format plug-in wall plate that we have. Excuse me. Also, there is a dedicated desktop at the teacher's desk. Or actually, there's a connection at the teacher's desk as well. They move the laptop, and sometimes they're sitting in the front of the room, sometimes they're sitting in the rear room. Okay. Our bezel control has eaten up this text, no worries. We'll show you how to adjust that when we do AV over IP, but it says AirPlay from an iPad. Sometimes they're presenting on iPad, and they want the ability to cast that content. No problem. And each morning during homeroom, we watch the news on the television. And so there's a cable box in each of these rooms. Okay, that about covers it for the sources. Now, also though, audio-wise, because if you're selling them video, audio integration, you're going to want to apply these principles to audio as well. And they say, well, you know, whatever we're viewing on the screen, we should have the audio from. And in some rooms, the teachers use microphones. The teachers that are a little more soft-spoken, they need microphones. And so that, of course, means we're going to need an amplifier as well. So the display, there's just a single screen at the head of the room. Distances are all relatively minor. You got 50 feet from the equipment at the teacher's desks. Sure, 4K. After all, we invest money in technology in the school every 5 years or so. So we justify that by using the latest and greatest technologies. And control is going to be from a touch screen in this instance. We're going to control all the AV, but also there's a lighting control that we need to have control over. So we look at this system, and actually this is in fact using some components that we have various ways, 1,000 ways to skin the cat, as they say. But we look at these components that we put together here. So we use the Apple TV as the ability to do the AirPlay from the iPad. Of course, that also gives us the benefits of some other streaming apps that they may need to view. And just so everybody knows, Key Digital soon will also, we don't like to look too far into the crystal ball, but we'll also have our own AirPlay solution, well, basically a format agnostic solution that's AirPlay or casting from a computer or from an Android device. And take care of that. The cable box for the morning news. The ability to plug in the laptop at the teacher's desk, which is just using a traditional HDMI cable because the equipment's located at the near the teacher's desk. And then we use our wall plate plug-in, the wall plate extender, transmitter, it's HDBaseT, transmitter to receiver into the fourth source. Audio, they have the pendant mic going into, this is the Key Digital Amp 220, perfect for a classroom like this, 2-channel, 20-watt Class D amplifier. And we also have the audio, so the 4 sources go into the switch, the HDMI to the display, of course. We also have audio de-embedding, just like the Fixer had. As I mentioned, we build that technology into so many of our products. So the Amp 220 is actually able to provide you with a mix of the selected source plus the microphone from the teacher going to our speakers. And because they wanted, in this case, in some of these high-end, some of these school districts that have a good amount of money are doing these systems where they're using iOS devices. They may lock them down through various mounting solutions, iPad mounting solutions. So you have the iPad. They could turn on the classroom, turn off the classroom. They could do video switching. They can control. We follow these green wires to control the Apple TV, to control the cable box, to control the display, the amplifier, and the lighting control system over IR, RS-232, or TCP/IP. So this is all based on the collection of the answers you've provided us for those 5 questions. And basically what you've told us, sources, displays, distances, etc., that's the outside. This is what you've provided us. And let our system design group assemble the middle to make sure that this meets your customers' requirements for functionality, operability, etc. Okay, next system. Ballroom. So this system is a ballroom. You could call it. We also like to call them room combined systems, where you have a ballroom that could be 1 large ballroom, 2 medium-sized ballrooms, or 4 small-sized ballrooms, for example. And in this case, there was actually 3 rooms, so it could be 1 large or 3 individual, or I guess 2 out of 3 as well. They needed wall plate plug-in. They needed the ability to show DVDs in the case that the folks who have rented the ballroom for that time, for the event, have DVD content they need to show. Digital signage that could be shown on the projectors, but also in the entryway for our displays, signage displays in the lobby. Dedicated PC, so that if folks have rented the boardroom, but then they realized, oh, shoot, I need a computer here, they have access to one in the rack. Video conferencing as well in each room. And so each room has a projector, and they wanted something really unique with this one. They wanted the ability to show the content from the other rooms as well, but not in a traditional matrix sense, actually in a split screen, picture-in-picture type sense. So we'll show you what we use for that. And there's 2 additional signage displays in each lobby, or in the lobby, excuse me, showing you perhaps the name of the events that are occurring, or perhaps advertising that, hey, come on over to the lounge and bar. We have these specials going on. Our distances, we have some pretty big distances, less than 100 meters though. They want 4K, and each room needs to have an iPad. So we take a look here, and we could see the system, our 3 plugins, and sometimes when there's a lot of sources, we just do ×3 here. Our 3 wall plate plugins, the DVD player, signage, the dedicated computer, and conferencing. At first it was presented to us that it would be the cameras with HDMI, but in fact it became the conferencing codecs. And each one gets its own encoder. So there's truly a total of 12 encoders, meaning this is encoder, decoder language brings us to AV over IP. We'll learn more about 12 encoders. And then when it comes to the signage displays, each one gets a decoder, and we send HDMI, plus we send the control, IR, RS-232, or IP control to each display. But then when it comes to the projectors here, we actually did a really unique thing. We took our multi-viewer, our Tyler device, some people refer to it as, and we fed 4 decoders into each of the 4 inputs of the multi-viewer. And what that gave us is the ability to do quad screen or split screen on each projector. And you could have 4 equally sized quadrants, or you could have like a 1 larger primary size image with 3 smaller windows. And this was a really, really cool feature. Dwayne, you want to tell us about this system? And I didn't do any setup here, so go for it.
Yeah, this is the RCIE building in Atlanta, and it's a multi-use facility. I actually did the programming for this, is why I chimed in. This was back when I was actually a dealer, a key digital dealer, a couple of years ago, and it is very unique, and they wanted to make it very multi-purpose useful. And as Jonathan mentioned, using the MLV 4x2 as basically a 4x1, but you can put any source up there in quadrant mode or full screen mode on the projector, as well as all the different displays along the walls. It's just a great multi-use video conference, teleconference, anything you want to do type system. So real proud of this one, and we had a lot of fun putting it together. And so it just shows what a combination of AV over IP, compass control, and all of our different products, including our MLV. So it really is a very encompassing system of a lot of key digital technology products, and the genius of Mike Sinberg coming to play all over this project. So
Pardon the pun there, Dwayne, right? All-encompassing system. But I want to hammer home what one thing you just said there, which is we're using a variety of our products, AV over IP, multi-viewers, compass control. And so we're encountering right now, there are some companies in the industry that are really just one-trick ponies, and they can only do one thing. Maybe it's just AV over IP, for example. But without having the full product line like we have, all these product categories, you're always going to be working with other components. And in digital video, where handshaking happens, it's more than just AV, it's communication. You're going to be more and more exposed to potential pitfalls if you're using all these various third-party devices. So sticking with Key Digital, where we have all these categories of products plus the control system, really just makes things as seamless as possible. So Dwayne, great work on this system. I'd like to point out that the on the large image of the iPad there, where it just says projector full screen or upper left and then wall plate, all of those text items actually were variable driven. So when it loaded onto the iPad, you actually didn't see all of that. You would see specific naming and whatnot. But this was a great all-in-one interface where you could control your projector, do your video routing, control multi-view or not, control the audio, which was using a Clear One DSP, and then by pressing each of these buttons at the bottom, you can control devices, specific devices like video conferencing, the DVD players, and the cable tuner. Great. So how about a training center? You walk through the job site and they say, look, we're going to have a large, I'm just going to kind of go out of order here. We want to do a large video wall here. Large video wall to do our corporate trainings, plus some standalone displays. And basically, it's all focused on the presentation, either local presentation by plugin or over AirPlay or Android. And also, though, as obscured, you can't see video conference. Video conferencing is another source of the system, so that you can do large-scale video conferencing here. Again, this is an opportunity for AV over IP to do a large video wall like this at 4K resolution. We take the information of the sources, the displays, the control, and ultimately what happens here, guys, is, if you're not, again, we understand not everybody here is just doing HDMI video projects day in and day out. So this is our way of kind of, it's almost like a product training on one aspect. Secondly, it's also a really effective sales tool. Page 1 is the line diagram. Page 2 is the bill of materials, all these models and quantities of each, and a description of each model as it pertains to your system. Now, don't show the bill of materials to the customer, but take them this, and they'll understand now, oh, now I get it. Wow, these boxes will build a video wall for me, will allow any of these sources to be distributed to each of these video walls, video panels, so that I don't need to have plugins plus AirPlay plus conferencing at each and every monitor. And it paints the picture for them. And then, speaking of pictures, Captain Segway here, we love to receive pictures from your job sites. Please do send us pictures from your job sites. Please tag us on LinkedIn or send us, and we'll tag you, because we love to promote our partners. And there's nothing quite like seeing it in the real world that helps us to paint the picture of the power of the systems that we're doing. And so this was a system up in Ontario, sold through our partner up there. And you can just see dozens and dozens of seats here that fill in at this video wall. And this is why companies are spending money on these sort of on this technology, is because it allows so many people to collaborate together, to communicate together, and to really work together in a better way. Whether we're all sitting next to each other, hopefully in the not too distant future, or working from home and having these kind of tools to see, to still, the show goes on in the best way possible, in the safest way possible under current circumstances. So now we could look at bar restaurant. Here's a system where they had they wanted to have I'm just going to again skip to the displays. They want to have a large video wall, as big as the wall will handle, I suppose, plus 10 standalone displays. And they wanted to have a dedicated satellite per standalone display so that every TV is potentially watching something unique. They also have specialized signage content from an app that plays, as it turns out through the development side, it runs on an Apple TV. And they have satellite receivers as well for the video wall. And we'll show you kind of more examples of that in a moment. For audio, they kept it real simple. You could either listen to whatever TV 1, satellite 1 is providing, or satellite radio, XM, Sirius XM on a commercial subscription, in 4 independent zones. So they could either listen to one audio source or the other for your audio, 100 meters, 4K, and they want to control it from an iPad. And the iPad control needs to be simple for the end user. It needs to take this and make it simplistic, that's where that real expertise that we've accumulated pays off in building GUIs. So we see here there's a total, basically with the video wall, I'll start again on the endpoint. They ended up being able to build a 4x4 video wall. And on that video wall, they wanted either to show one large image, 4 quads, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, or the other preset. Let me see if I can skip ahead here. Yeah, here we are. The other preset, one 3x3 video wall with 7 unique sources surrounding it. So that brings us to 8 total SAT receivers dedicated for the video wall. And then we have the signage, the specialized content that ended up being able to be played through Apple TV on an app that was loaded in. And so that's justifying the matrix that you could have the signage content at each of the standalone displays. So sources 1 through 10, SAT boxes, 11 through 18, SAT boxes for the video wall, because potentially we could have 8 players there. And then source 19, the Apple TV. Now here's a really cool feature of our AV over IP that you'll see later. We follow the purple wires for audio. We have audio de-embedding at the encoder side so that I can take my HDMI in and I de-embed the audio to feed my audio DSP. And here I can apply latency adjustment, because with AV over IP, there's always going to be a little bit of latency. Now, on the 4K system, you don't notice it. On the 1080p system, it's a more higher compression, H.264. So you have to have ways of compensating for that. So we allow you to break it out on the front end, which is a big benefit, because a lot of competitors only allow you to break it out on the back end. And that then you have to run it all the way back to the rack. All right. So we fed the mixer. Now, all of this was controlled by Compass. So these were DirecTV controlled over IR. We could also do IP control with DirecTV. We're controlling DBX Zone Pro as the audio routing system. As a router, we also support mixer functionality. The amp doesn't need any control because it's just getting volume control and muting control and switching from the DSP. The monitors were all IR control, the standalone, and then we had RS-232 control for the Pro Samsung Pro displays for the video wall. And it's not just the video hardware. Remember, Key Digital is a hardware and software company, and you can take advantage of the software being built in to so many of our products and do Compass control at very minimal additional expense. Here's the GUI that they ended up with. You want to control TVs 1 through 10, you press that button, and then you could choose what TV 4, go to your favorite channels. You press video wall, you could choose the layout of the video wall, full, quad, or assorted, and then you could change the channel for your various SAT boxes. You want to control audio, bottom left, it brings you here, choose the zone, choose what they're listening to, control the volume. Power, open mode, close mode, for example, and presets, for example, digital signage, karaoke night, etc. So this is taking this system and delivering. Why do bars and restaurants pay for this technology? Their managers don't have to be, the only ones that are able to control the system. They don't have to burn 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, 30 minutes at night to turn on, change the mode, and turn off the system each day. This enables the management and the staff to focus on their jobs versus the AV system by having a user-friendly interface like we delivered here in Compass Control. A church, this was a great scenario, great system. They have 4 plug-in locations. As you'll see in the design, you'll see the names. There was also a PTZ camera, pan, tilt, zoom, much like we could do with our CAM USB, except for as an HDMI output. And we did some really unique things with that with Compass Control, as I'll show you. And then Apple TV for AirPlay once again, and perhaps some unique apps. There were 2 projectors in the sanctuary, and then there's 10 standalone displays throughout the church. There's 4 independent audio zones, altar table, choir, balcony organ, and the Easter camera all had the ability to plug in on our wall plate. Then we have the Apple TV in the rack going into its encoder and the PTZ camera. So this again, AV over IP. All of the audio is de-embedded from every source to go into the mixer. So this is really, really nice on the front end, that audio de-embed being all fed into the mixer without having to run from the displays and back, which feeds your amp. Projectors 1 and 2, a third projector called a light scene projector, the entry and the north. We also had our MC1000 in the system to offer 3-pin relays controls of our projector screens. And on the iPad, we were doing some really great things, like they have a preset here, or a button, Sanctuary Camera. You press it, and it advances you here. And actually, one of the really powerful features of Compass Control is that we can stream RTSP, real-time streaming protocol, in the Compass app. So they're actually able, that PTZ camera was also on the network, and they're able to stream that video using the iPad as a preview monitor before sending it to various displays. This is actually a church, the Shrine of the Little Flower Basilica, and I want to say Royal Oak, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. And it had, after the upgrade, this system upgrade was published on loads of notable media outlets, and it's just so user friendly that this customer then is now positioning Compass Control, positioning AV over IP in government applications as well, town hall type meetings where are settings where usually you would have to have an AV operator to make sure you're getting all of this, and they're selling it on an iPad, focusing on user experience, not hardware or price point, and they're winning every project that they go in and propose this on. Very, very powerful.